Hey guys, it's Mark and Curt back with Cocktails with Curt.
I had a sip already, but
How did you get the title of this show, anyways?
because the people wanted to see me.
I'm controlled hosting it, so I'm gonna put and Mark in parentheses. But anyways, next topic we get a ton, wouldn't you say, of relocation buyers.
Which is good. Thank you for relocating to Atlanta. Contrary to what you might read, we welcome you to come.
Right.
I know a lot of people say Atlanta's full, but
Right. We want you. It's a great city. But what we really want to talk about is you're getting to know Curt specifically because you've seen a lot of my face on a lot of these videos. So I want Curt to describe a little bit about the topic of relocating. Curt relocated from New York and is also from Philly. So he kind of has that fresh in his mind. What was it, 2010 you officially relocated? And maybe just let's talk through the advice of different buckets of people where they might be for that relocation buyer. So tell the people a little bit about how you relocated here and kind of how you got to learn about Atlanta.
I mean, I think, I relocated here for somebody special.
That could be.
No, but I relocated here, and it was hard. I mean, it was a totally new city outside of you and, just connecting with a few people.
Right.
I didn't really know much about the city. I definitely was not at all thinking about or even wanting to buy a house or own anything.
Wasn't in your mindset at that time.
It wasn't in my mindset. And I think, again, if you're relocating, my advice would be get to know the city. Because what you might experience during a visit here or a visit there won't
tell the whole story.
That won't tell the whole story.
No.
Because Atlanta, for as small as it is, it's pretty diverse.
It's spread out too.
It's spread out and it's pretty diverse in terms of like the culture, the vibe, like all of that is not the same from here to there.
Right.
So
because somebody could say like I live in Atlanta, but they're really living like in a Roswell or Lawrenceville, right? It's not like the people they're gonna always claim Atlanta, but yeah, sorry to disrupt.
No, that's fine. But I mean, but to that point, so someone's saying they're from here, they're gonna have a totally different experience depending on where they're from versus what you might experience where you end up. So
what was the biggest change for you, like when you came to New York? I know like New York's big public transportation, right? Like what did you find like that you need in Atlanta that is not like possible here in Atlanta that's just New York?
You
subways, right? Number one.
You definitely need a car.
Right.
Because while we do have MARTA. If you're
it's smarter for some people, but it's not available to all people.
Yeah, that's not like that. I would say if you moved here, you definitely need a car. Yeah. You would be pretty inconvenienced without one. I mean, you do have Uber, Lyft, and all those things, which I don't think were around when I moved here. But I like to get up and go when I like to get up and go. I don't like to have that dependency on somebody else. So for me, having a car is like a priority.
When you first moved down here too, tell them a little bit, because New York is busy, right? It's all 24-hour city. Like, what was a good medium for you of where to live, and then like how it's changed over the years, just by experiencing Atlanta?
Well, I think that, I mean, again, my experience is different than probably yours and other people. So, I would say if you're into the hustle and bustle, Atlanta doesn't necessarily give you that. But if you're into like bars and clubs and, there are pockets like, you have Midtown, you obviously have Buckhead. And
kind of downtown Decatur is coming up, right?
Downtown Decatur.
Downtown, with like a lot of downtown
East Atlanta.
areas,
Like
right?
there's so many each little section, they all have, for the most part, they have their bars, clubs, and hotspots. But those hotspots are going to be hotspots to different types of people, if that makes sense. Right. So if you're into, I'm not going to call anybody because I don't want anybody coming for me in the comments, but if you're into a certain scene, that's why it's important to really get to know the city to find out where that scene is. And then, sometimes too, just because the scene is here doesn't mean you have to live there, because I'd like to go to the clubs. At least I used to before this little ring got on my finger, but I used to do the club thing. And I think that was the biggest attachment. I used to always I felt like I needed to live and be a part of the environment that I guess I enjoyed.
It was an easier transition that way, as if you lived like in out in Conyers or Covington, which is nothing wrong with those areas if that's your lifestyle. Like if you're coming from a small town in Iowa, or like maybe even you've been in New York and you're just like, I'm tired of all that hustle and bustle. But also, like, when did you start really considering purchasing a house? Like, obviously, once you financially could, but like, what would you give advice for relocators? Time frame? I always tell people when I do these videos, like, minimum 6 months, probably a year to kind of get out there and explore the city.
Yeah, I would say, I would say at least 6 months if you were already
good
familiar with the city and you're in good financial situation.
You can do it, yeah.
But I would say if you're moving to Atlanta for the first time and your familiarity with the city is just going to grow as you stay here longer, I would say at least a year.
Yeah, definitely.
Because what you don't want to do is you don't want to think that you're missing out on an opportunity by rushing and purchasing something.
Mm-hmm. Once you do,
like that's, you don't just, this is
you
not
technically can sell it or rent it, but why would you go through all that?
Right.
You know,
but you wouldn't want to do that and then realize like, oh, that wasn't the opportunity I thought it was. This would have been the opportunity had I waited.
Right.
And a lot of times these areas are changing and they're up and coming, and there's a lot of movement around the Atlanta the metro area. So I feel like,
and the advantage that people have, even when you moved here in 2010, the internet has even gone even more with Google. Like, you could just search like economic development in different areas and you'll kind of like see like, oh, this has a lot of potential. But also, why don't you talk a little bit about, because you are from up north, we have a lot of up north followers. We also have a lot of people from California too, but just that up north buyer, like, what, one thing that always bothered me is like, Atlanta's not like New York. Atlanta's not like New York. And then you got that mentality, but like, talk about, of course it's not New York, of course it's not LA, of course it's not Chicago, it's Atlanta and Atlanta.
Right.
What do you love about Atlanta? What about recreation, jobs, what is it about Atlanta that you love and for a place for people to call home?
I think that, well, first of all, don't come to Atlanta only to compare it or bash it from wherever city you're from.
Right.
Because those are the people where, you can at me, but those are the people where I say, don't move here. Because we welcome you if you want to be welcome, right? But to that point of what you're saying, I think that Atlanta has a lot to offer. If you are young, if you have an entrepreneurial spirit, if you are a minority, if you're African American or minority, you can come to Atlanta and you can really prosper. You can really find your way if you come here and you have a plan, and you align yourself with the right network of people.
Yeah. That's a very welcoming city. When you say too, like,
almost too welcoming. Because when I moved here,
he's like, why are they looking at me? Why are they looking at me
and say, "What's up?" And I thought, like, "What's up?" Right. It is. It's a very welcoming city, and I think that
no matter if you're a woman, man, gay, straight, family oriented, all that, like, there's something for everybody. Yeah. It's a very progressive city, and
it's. And in a lot of ways, I would say, while costs are rising, even in Atlanta,
compared to other places,
it still is a very affordable city. Because when I lived in the Northeast, New York, New Jersey, Philly, all those places, it was like hopeless. Like, I was like, I'm never going to be able to afford to own anything here. Right. Because for what I would have been able to afford 10 years ago, it was like almost $1 million for a fixer-upper.
Right.
And that just wasn't for me. So I was like, wow, I'm always going to be a renter if I stay here. There was I didn't have that hope of I can own something that I would feel comfortable living in when I live up there. So I do think if you move here,
take it for what it is.
Atlanta
is Atlanta. Don't try to compare it.
And it's a great city.
It's a great city.
So
great properties, great people, great food, right? How about the food scene? Unbelievable.
Great
right?
food. It's great opportunity.
Yeah.
It's not going to give you the vibe of a Los Angeles or New York City, but quite frankly, when people say that, tell me a city that does give you New York besides New York.
Right.
Or tell me a city that does give you LA besides LA.
So what gives you, like when you go to New York, Atlanta, it can't give you Atlanta's vibe. So we're running out of time again, but just wanted to tell you guys again, for our relocation buyers, hopefully that was helpful. Take that 6 months to a year if you're financially ready. Get to know the city, enjoy the parks, the weather, the jobs, search for great jobs in the area as well. And any questions that you guys have, just hit us up and we will definitely help those relocation buyers. All right.
Cheers.
Talk to you soon.